You're taking a stroll on a warm summer afternoon. The grass is green, the sun is in the sky, and suddenly, you feel yourself sinking. You begin to panic, but then immediately you bounce back up. You test your footing and jump slightly. The grass bounces with you, like a trampoline. This phenomenon is caused by soil liquefaction. Excess water from heavy rain or floods becomes trapped in the soil, causing it to be waterlogged. This makes the ground temporarily act like a giant waterbed. While it may be tempting to run and bounce on this springy grass, it's best to tread carefully. The grass could potentially break open, and if someone fell through, it would be incredibly tricky for them to get back out again. An erupting volcano is already a pretty terrifying sight, with clouds of dark smoke and flowing molten hot lava. What's even more terrifying is that they can produce lightning. Volcanic lightning is pretty hard to study, so scientists don't know exactly what causes it. A common theory is that during an eruption, the ash picks up so much friction that it creates a buildup of static electricity. This static electricity then triggers the volcanic lightning. A fire whirl, or fire tornado, is exactly what it sounds like. They occur when ground winds pick up flames and escalate the embers into a whirling force. These spinning columns of fire can reach up to 1,000 feet tall, but luckily, they only last for a couple of minutes. Fire tornadoes are pretty rare, but they can be extremely dangerous. In Tokyo in 1923, a large citywide fire produced a gigantic fire tornado. The tornado lasted 15 minutes and devastated the city, causing significant damage and leaving 38,000 people injured. On a cold and cloudless winter night, you might have been lucky enough to witness colorful beams of blue and orange light reaching up towards the sky. These are called light pillars. They occur when light is reflected from tiny ice crystals that float about in the atmosphere. These pillars are more common in cold, northern countries like Canada or Russia. We've all seen the colorful rainbow arches that the sun produces. It's much rarer to see a rainbow light up in the sky, produced by the moon. This is called a moonbow. It's bright and colorful like a rainbow and occurs when moonlight reflects off water droplets in the sky. Moonbows are incredibly rare and can only occur in specific conditions. The moon must be very low, the sky has to be dark, and rain must fall directly opposite from the moon to create this lunar rainbow. If you're taking a moonlit stroll along the beach at night, you might come across the strange phenomena of a bioluminescent beach. This occurs when a microorganism in the water called plankton are agitated by the movement of the waves and give off a bright blue color. These microorganisms tend to live in warmer waters, so you can find these luminescent beaches in places like the Maldives, Puerto Rico, and even Florida. In Antarctica, you'll find the famous Blood Falls. Blood red colored water pours out of the Taylor Glacier from an underground lake. Scientists originally believed that the striking color was caused by a microorganism similar to the luminescent beach's glowing plankton. But after further studies, it was discovered that the water has abnormally high levels of iron that oxidize and turn to rust the second they hit fresh air. In colder climates where lakes are frozen all year round, if you look pretty closely beneath the icy waters, you'll notice frozen bubbles trapped in the ice. These are small pockets of methane gas. Bacteria in the water feast on other organisms and digest them to produce methane. The methane turns into floating bubbles in the frozen water, trapped beneath layers of ice. Asperatus clouds are one of the rarest events in nature. This cloud formation consists of incredibly dark and storm-like waves of clouds. Although these clouds appear ominous and look like they carry a heavy storm, they usually dissipate without ever affecting the weather. These clouds most commonly appear in the Great Plains of the United States, but they haven't been observed since 2009. Despite being a famously harsh climate, the desert can produce some beautiful things, like desert roses. These are intricate rose-like formations of crystal clusters. The intense switch between dry and wet conditions forms the crystals and traps grains of sand within them to give them their signature color. From afar, you could easily mistake a waterspout as a large tornado traveling over a body of water. In reality, waterspouts are a type of funnel-shaped cloud. They are rotating columns of cloud-filled wind which often take on a darker color. Waterspouts are much weaker and smaller than tornadoes, and they aren't strong enough to suck anything into them. This phenomenon typically occurs in tropical climates, and they usually dissipate before reaching land. Lenticular clouds are flat clouds that lay on top of the other. looking like stacks of pancakes in the sky. They typically form in high altitudes where geographic features like mountains or tall buildings interrupt the airflow. Because of their unique shape, lenticular clouds have been suggested as an explanation for some UFO sightings. As our climate changes, new natural phenomena develop. One of these is exploding permafrost. The increasing temperature in Arctic zones is causing the permafrost to melt. Just like in frozen lakes, bubbles of methane gas are trapped in the permafrost. As the permafrost begins to melt, the gas is released. This results in large explosions in the ground, which leave behind massive holes. The first case of this was reported in 2013, and several more have been reported since. When you think of icebergs, you usually think of a large chunk of pristine white ice. But in Antarctica, you find icebergs striped with colors of green, blue, yellow, and more. The different colors are caused due to the ice forming in special conditions. Green typically appears when water that is rich in algae freezes. Blue stripes are more often freshly frozen water. Other colors are typically caused by sediments of debris picked up by the water as it freezes. Nacreous clouds are some of the rarest clouds on the planet. They typically occur at high altitudes and are only visible within 2 hours after sunset. The clouds appear beautiful as they display light waves of various colors. But don't be fooled. These clouds are actually a pretty dangerous sight. Nacreous clouds are incredibly destructive to our atmosphere. Their presence encourages the chemical reaction that breaks down our ozone layer. The ozone layer is an essential shield protecting us from the sun's harmful rays. The more depleted it is, the more at risk we are of global warming. The last place you might expect to find a natural fire is in the middle of a waterfall, but it's more common than you think. In upstate New York, in the middle of a small running waterfall is an eternal flame around 8 inches tall. Beneath the waterfall is a natural gas seep, a low pressure of gas that escapes from underground into the Earth's atmosphere. The small fire is sheltered enough by rocks from the waterfall's spray to stay lit permanently. Typically, green sand isn't what you'd imagine when you think of tropical beaches, but in Hawaii and other volcanic islands around the globe, you'll find beaches covered with dark green sand. This remarkable color is due to the erosion of olivine, a type of rock formed by nearby volcanic eruptions. Over the years, the rock slowly withers into sand and washes onto the shore, resulting in these strange colored beaches. Penitentes are fields of ice spikes, formed in high altitudes. These occur when sunlight beams directly onto ice, turning it into water vapor rather than melting them. The sunbeams vaporize small dimples in the snow surface, resulting in sharp crystal-like formations. The spike can grow as tall as 15 feet. Mammatus clouds are some of the most unusual and distinctive formations of clouds. The clouds can extend over hundreds of miles and appear like the sky has been blanketed with cotton balls. The clouds themselves are harmless, but they often signify that a dangerous storm is nearby. So if you see them, head inside. A green flash sunset is a rare phenomenon that occurs briefly at sunset or sunrise, when the sun is almost entirely out of the sky. In the right conditions, onlookers can witness a distinct green flash, making the sun appear bright green. This is caused by sunlight reflecting off the Earth's atmosphere, causing the light to refract into different colors. The sun appears green, but really, it's just an optical illusion.
You're relaxing at the beach when suddenly you notice a huge flock of birds. They're excited about something near the water. You get the urge to go and investigate what's going on there. Here's some advice. Sit back down and stay away from the water. I get it, you think you're tough enough to handle a few pecks from a seagull. But it's not the birds that have me worried. It's what's lurking beneath the water. Fish are a staple of many diets across the animal kingdom, both above and below the ocean. Tuna, squid, and octopus, as well as marine mammals like seals, all prey on a wide variety of smaller fish. Species such as bluefish and striped bass are their favorite dinnertime meal. They're also the favorite of another ultra-predator, which is why you shouldn't join those birds by the water. If you do, you're risking an encounter with a creature that can measure up to 20 feet long. That's 3 times the size of an average human. These are the size credentials of a great white shark. If there are fish around, they may come up near the ocean surface to feed. A great white shark has the strongest bite force among animals. The only other animal species that comes close to them is the saltwater crocodile. And boy, is their ability to catch whiffs strong. Scientists believe it to be more than 100 times stronger than a human's. They don't even use the nostrils located beneath their snouts to breathe. It simply serves as a specialized sniffer. Thankfully though, we're not the favorite meal of a shark, and the creature isn't going out of its way to hunt us. Researchers claim that the odds of being attacked by a shark are as low as 1 in 3.7 million. When unfortunate meetings between sharks and humans do happen, a shark may mistake a human for a seal or an extremely large striped bass. This is why you should stay away from those birds and fishes, and just let the other animals animal. You just focus on catching a tan in that sun chair. So I guess this means that sharks have poor vision? Not quite. Their vision in clear water is up to 10 times better than that of humans swimming in the same environment. The structure of a shark's eye is quite similar to that of our own. It consists of a cornea, lens, retina, deep blue iris, and the pupil. Their eyes have 2 types of photoreceptors, rods and cones, just like humans. Although we're not too sure how well rods and cones perform for sharks, research has shown that they possess only 1 type of cone. It means they most likely don't have full color vision like a human. This might explain why they can sometimes mix humans up with other creatures. But hey, who's ever really fully focused when they're about to devour their dinner? Shark eyes also have tapetum lucidum. This is a layer of mirrored crystals located behind the shark's retina. These crystals allow the shark to see quite well in extremely dim light and murky water. The crystals reflect incoming light, which gives the rods inside the retina a second chance at detecting light that they might have missed the first time around. Fun fact, cats also have tapetum lucidum. This is why your cat's eyes glow in the dark when you shine a light on them. Another telltale sign that sharks may be hovering around in nearby waters is the presence of whales. Sharks have been known to stalk the creatures for over 100 miles. They'll follow pods waiting for one of the members to become vulnerable before expertly striking. So, lesson learned? If you now see birds by the water, it's probably not a good thing, unlike when you see thousands of birds flying together through the sky. This is known as murmuration. You can see thousands of starlings unite together in the sky, moving in unison, dipping and swerving at the same time. It's like they're competing in some sort of synchronization event at the Bird Olympics. This happens when the birds begin to roost. It can be as early as September in some places and as late as the end of November elsewhere, with more birds joining the nightly displays during this time. Are they doing it for our entertainment? Well, not really. Grouping together in the sky offers protection from predators, like falcons. It can also get cold when you're flying that high up. So, the birds gather in their thousands to keep warm and exchange information on potential feeding sites. Okay, so in this case, a huge group of birds doesn't mean anything evil. But if you ever see some flying towards you whilst in a wooded area, it's probably time to leave the area. Birds and other animals flee wildfire areas. Certain mammals, like amphibians, may actually stay in the fire. Instead of fleeing for their lives, they will dig underground to escape it. But nearly all other animals will try their best to leave. Oh, and don't forget to jump out of the way whilst all those animals are running towards you. Why don't we switch back from birds to sharks? Yes, we now know if there are birds near the ocean surface, then sharks will probably be quite close as well. But what if there are no sharks anywhere near at all? If you ever happen to be in the ocean and notice some sharks heading deep towards the bottom of the ocean, this may be a sign that a hurricane or tropical storm is on the way. Sharks can sense the drop in barometric pressure that accompanies the storm, so they could be trying to get out of the hectic zone. Sharks don't quite care for humans, so they don't view our sandy beaches and inland towns and cities as safety zones. They're quite intelligent creatures and know the deeper they go in the ocean, the safer it gets. But the ocean's not always the best place to go in an emergency. Case in point, If you come across sea creatures who usually live in water randomly resting on the sand, don't get inside the water. This is a sign that the water is potentially toxic. It's possible that a red tide is congregating in the water near the beach. Red tides happen all over the world, but one algae species causes them in the Gulf of Mexico. A red tide occurs when the water is full of more toxic algae than normal. It can make the water reddish or brown, but sometimes the water's color is normal. If you go in the water, you might experience respiratory irritation like coughing or an itchy throat. If this happens to you, you should thoroughly rinse your mouth with fresh water. Speaking of water, frogs are famous for their croaking, but if you've ever heard them do it a lot more than usual, it might be because it's about to rain. One theory says that this might have to do with their mating. They first do it, then lay eggs in bodies of fresh water. A good rain means more watery real estate for the frogs. That's why male frogs invite the ladies for a date before the showers with a croaking symphony. If you hear a lot of buzzing around, meaning the bees are more active than usual, a storm could be on the way. When they feel like it's approaching, bees start working even harder and faster to collect more nectar before the storm. And once they're done with it, they'll always come back to the hive 10 to 15 minutes before the heavy rain, even when there are no obvious signs of it. Their secret is super sensitive hairs on their back that can pick up electrostatic buildups from storm clouds.
Could there be some huge and fascinating man-made thing chilling somewhere in the ocean? I'm not talking about sunken ships here, but something way more interesting. Did you know that only a fraction, about 5%, of the ocean has been explored? That's right. We've sent a handful of astronauts to the moon, but there have been very few humans to the deepest part of the ocean. One happened way back in 1960, when two brave aquanauts took the plunge. Another one happened in 2012, and that's mainly because a film director decided to dive solo after making a movie about the Titanic. We can totally agree that the deep sea is a mysterious place, ready to surprise us with some mind-blowing discoveries. I mean, just think about it. We're constantly stumbling upon bizarre creatures like the gummy squirrel and the blobfish that we had no clue existed in the past decades. On that note, in the vast expanse of the Baltic Sea lies a discovery that has captivated the attention of many. In June 2011, a group of Swedish treasure hunters stumbled upon a remarkable thing on the seafloor, and ever since, it continues to make headlines. One source claimed that when the Swedish vessel set out to capture some better images of underwater landscape, the team encountered some serious challenges. They said that their detection device and camera gear malfunctioned when they were positioned above the underwater hill. Mysterious electrical disruptions were also said to have interfered with the sonar, and even though they had recently charged their satellite phones, the batteries drained unexpectedly. No wonder some soon started claiming that this weird seabed feature wasn't a natural phenomenon. People have given it the nicknames of the Baltic Sea mystery or the Baltic Sea anomaly because it's been so difficult to pinpoint its origin. Located in the waters between Sweden and Finland, this intriguing anomaly was said to be in the form of a mushroom-like structure, emerging about 10 to 13 feet from the seabed. The main body of the object appears to have straight lines, construction markings, and boxes sketched on it. Also, the top part of the object, resembling a gigantic mushroom, is said to feature cracks filled with an unidentified dark substance. Some have compared it to a massive stone, a gateway to another world, an underwater Stonehenge, or peculiar stone circle formations believed to be crafted by an ancient civilization. Some of the most interesting theories about this formation came from Peter Lindbergh, the leader of the Ocean X crew, the very team responsible for this intriguing find. Lindbergh, known for his knack for unveiling enigmatic secrets, made a series of cryptic statements about the seafloor object his team has been meticulously exploring. During an interview, he pointed out that if the object were indeed crafted by human hands, it must have been constructed tens of thousands of years ago, a period predating the Ice Age. The mere possibility that this could be the long-lost city of Atlantis, the underwater realm of ancient legends, is enough to spark the imagination. Nevertheless, Lindbergh acknowledged the alternative explanations for the object's existence. He admitted that it could potentially be a natural formation, perhaps a meteorite that managed to sink in the icy layers during the Ice Age, or an underwater volcano. However, he pointed out that the scientific community remains baffled by the way this formation looks. Geologists have also ruled out the object being a volcano, further adding to the mystery surrounding it. To shed light on the object's composition, Lindbergh's team provided stone samples to an esteemed associate professor of geology at Stockholm University. What he found, after performing his analysis, was intriguing, to say the least. Among the samples, he discovered materials such as granite, gneiss, and sandstone, ordinary rocks that are commonly found in glacial basins like the Baltic Sea. Nothing out of the ordinary so far. However, there was one standout piece, basaltic rock, a type typically formed from hardened lava. How could such a rock be found at the bottom of the sea without any volcano in sight? As it turns out, it is not entirely uncommon. It is believed that these rocks were simply moved by glaciers during the glacial and post-glacial periods, as the melting ice sheets carried and deposited them in their current location. One publication, known for its passion for perplexing enigmas, decided to consult a lot of experts regarding the Baltic Sea anomaly. To make sure they didn't miss out on anything, they reached out to renowned researchers from different fields. Surprisingly, most experts seemed to agree that there was nothing truly mysterious about the object after all. The rocks and features look like well-established geological formations. Sure, we can picture the formation as this magnificent archaeological site, but it is important to remember that the only real visual evidence we have is the original sonar image scan captured by the divers. Even though experts warn against drawing conclusions based on this image alone. One respected seabed sonar scanning expert from Massachusetts highlighted the numerous artifacts and limitations present in the image. He suggested that an in-depth analysis and better processing of the data, including specific details about the type of sonar used, are necessary to better understand the object. When you put all the pieces of this puzzle together, it appears that the Baltic Sea object is likely nothing more than a glacial deposit that the OceanX team discovered during their low-resolution sonar scan. Anomalies aside, why is it so difficult for us humans to thoroughly explore the ocean? Studying the ocean has its fair share of challenges, but they're mainly due to the laws of physics. The deep ocean is super dark, freezing cold, and there's an insane amount of pressure. Believe it or not, it's sometimes easier to send folks into space than to take them to the depths of the ocean. Why, you ask? Well, the extreme pressures down there make it incredibly tough to explore. Let's talk about pressure for a sec. When you're chilling at sea level, the air around you is pressing on your body with about 15 pounds per square inch. If you were to venture into space, that pressure would drop to zilch. However, if you were to go diving or hop in an underwater vehicle, the pressure would start piling up as you went deeper. Imagine taking a dive all the way down to the Mariana Trench, which is like 7 miles below the surface. Down there, the pressure is more than 1,000 times greater than what you experience at the surface. It's like having the weight of 50 jumbo jets pushing on you. Despite these challenges, NASA future missions plan to take us to uncharted depths right here on our own planet. Some say we know more about Mars and the Moon's surface than the ocean floor right here on Earth. But NASA is determined to change that. The U.S. Space Agency is diving into the deep ocean to hunt for clues about what other planets' oceans might be like. The idea is that the discoveries they make underwater will help unlock some of the mysteries of outer space. Plus, they'll test out equipment and experiments needed for future missions in our solar system. Surprisingly, Earth's ocean depths share similarities with the conditions NASA expects to find on other planets in our solar system. They may even give hints about where scientists should search for life outside our planet. The deepest parts of our oceans are called the Hadal Zone. It's a weird place, extending 6.8 miles below the ocean surface, filled with deep trenches and troughs. The Hadal Zone covers an area equivalent to the size of Australia. Very few vehicles can withstand the intense pressure of diving into this dark abyss. But NASA scientists are determined to explore and push the limits of life on Earth. Their missions to this region even borrow terms from space exploration. Recently, marine biologists have sent multiple landers with sensors and cameras to crash land on the floor of the Hadal Zone to gather data.